pledge allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order! Come! Ready! Hot! Aye! Hey! Forward! March!
Good afternoon, thank you all for coming. I haven't been on this stage since I was in a school play many years ago, so this is a little different perspective for me. Good afternoon, thank you for being here for the town hall meeting hosted by our congressional representative for the 12th Congressional District of New Jersey, Congresswoman Watson Coleman. Clearly, this is kind of a big deal for us. I'm Skip Stabile, I'm president of the Borough Council, and I'd like to welcome everyone here on behalf of the Borough Council, on behalf of Mayor Larry Laurent, who unfortunately couldn't be here today. I'd like to start by thanking the ROTC for the presentation of colors, and I'd like to also thank the North Plainfield Board of Education and the board president, Dr. Mark Brzezinski's here. I see some other board members, if you raise your hand. Or former Mayor Michele. And of course, Dr. Michele Aquino, our Superintendent of Schools, for the use of the building. I'd also like to thank a group of local volunteers who are here to hand out some information through the use. It's voter registration information. There'll be a QR code on the card, and they'll be outside afterwards. And the purpose is to, if you're interested in verifying and absolutely making sure that you're a registered voter, that's the purpose of the card. So I'd like to thank those volunteers for being here. And look for them. Here's my airline stewardess impersonation at the doors afterwards when this is all over. This town hall meeting was put together by Congresswoman Watson Coleman and her staff so that she could meet constituents and hear concerns and speak to us about our needs and even our fears. She's here to answer questions, offer guidance, and most importantly, to offer hope, which is in short supply these days, it seems sometimes. These are shaping up to be trying times indeed. Before Congress in Washington, D.C., Congresswoman Watson Coleman was working down in Trenton in the General Assembly, I believe from 1998 to 2015. While there, she worked on issues including urban enterprise zones, better known as UEZs, improving paid family leave for New Jerseyans, and criminal justice reforms. She served as majority leader in that chamber in the Assembly from 2006 to 2010. Now, by way of a little personal background, from 2004 through 2012, I was chief of staff for Senator, now Senate President Nick Scutari.
Oh, wow.
So while both houses don't often get together, usually just for the State of the State address, the governor's budget address, staff people hear things, we see things, we take note of our bosses and other bosses. And it was pretty clear even then, you were going places. So yes, in 2014, then Assemblywoman Watson Coleman did set her sights a little bit higher and ran for Congress. Spoiler alert, she won. And in so doing, became the first African-American woman to represent New Jersey in Congress. Congresswoman has a background in working on and fighting for issues such as civil rights, higher education, reducing recidivism and expanding job opportunities for those who have been convicted of crimes, protecting families, issues affecting women, and especially women and girls of color, helping to fight identity theft, matters of homeland security, socioeconomic issues, and she is currently a co-sponsor of a resolution even for a ceasefire in Gaza, so she also turns her attention to matters of international import. Just some of the... some of the things that she is involved with when she's down in DC and not here at home in the district are Congresswoman Watson Coleman is a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, the Congressional Black Caucus, the Congressional Arts Caucus, the Medicare for All Caucus, and the Blue Collar Caucus. That's just some of them. There wasn't enough room for all. She was even arrested outside the Supreme Court for protesting for a woman's right to choose. Well done. Well done. That's probably not something that gets referenced in most opening remarks, but hats off to you. We really love that here. Seriously. Congresswoman Watson Coleman has long been a champion for progressive issues across the board. And here in North Plainfield, our Borough Council, and I'll recognize some of those folks in just a moment. Actually, I should do it now before I go on. We have Councilman Everett Merrill, if you raise your hand, sir. Councilman Suzette Gibbon. Council Vice President Steve McIntyre. I think that's it for the council. Okay, I'm not missing any of my colleagues. We'd like to do our part to help you as much as possible, Congresswoman. So in our own small way, on Monday night at our most recent council meeting, at a resident's urging, we unanimously passed a resolution in opposition to DOJ's cuts to the National Endowment for the Humanities. We're rather proud of that. And we will be sending a copy of that resolution to your office this week. We will also be sending it to all the other congressional offices in New Jersey, some of them to notify them and some of them to put them on, yes, to really notify them. I count North Plainfield extremely fortunate to not just have someone like you as our Congresswoman, but that it is you. I feel very fortunate because of your background and the causes that you champion. We are very lucky to have you fighting for us and to have you making sure that voices of all kinds across central New Jersey are being heard loudly and clearly. Thank you for coming here to our community today to meet us and not just to hear from us, but to hear us. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you all for being here today, and it is my honor to represent the North Plainfield Board of Education and have the Congresswoman here this afternoon. My name is Dr. Michele Aquino, and on behalf of the North Plainfield School District, it is my great pleasure to welcome you, Congresswoman, to our school district in our greater district, District 12. You are truly an advocate for education and youth, and you are here not only to share your insights with us, but as Mr. Stabile had said, really so that the community has the opportunity to be heard. And today we have such an incredible chance to hear directly from Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman, who helps shape our laws and policies that impact our communities and our lives every day. Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman has been fighting to ensure all students are represented in education and getting the best education possible. She advocates tooth and nail to strengthen public schools, to make sure that we are receiving the best support and resources possible, and emphasizing the importance of equitable education for all of our students. Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman comes from a legacy of public service. And I think this is so important for our students to hear. Following in the footsteps of her father, John S. Watson, a former state legislator, she also has made history as the first Black woman to represent New Jersey in Congress. So thank you for that. Our Congresswoman recognizes that millions of Americans struggle daily just to make ends meet from month to month. Her legislative efforts aim to close the gap and provide meaningful support. This makes a great deal to our school community. Congresswoman Watson Coleman is an advocate for those facing economic, social disadvantage, and in 2016, together with two colleagues, she founded the Congressional Caucus on Black Women and Girls, the first caucus dedicated to highlighting both the challenges and achievements of Black Women in Congressional Policy Discussions. As chair of the Democratic Task Force on Poverty, our Congresswoman brings the same purpose to her role that North Plainfield School District brings to its commitment to our community engagement and high expectations for students. In 2024, she introduced the Commission on Advancing Restorative Justice in Elementary and Secondary Education Act. This legislation promotes restorative justice practices in schools. The goal is to provide educators with tools to address conflicts constructively, reduce suspension rates, and foster inclusive school environments. Your vision for the Commission is to develop guidelines for implementing programs like mediation and counseling, structure equitable disciplinary practices, and recommend improvements for mental health support in educational settings. The goal is to address and reduce racial disparities in school discipline and to dismantle the school-to-prison pipeline. In our diverse school district of North Plainfield, we are proud to align with the Congresswoman's vision as we are in year 3 of our restorative practice work in North Plainfield and believe deeply in this practice that you are working so hard to bring to the forefront. Thank you. Our Congresswoman also introduced Youth Mental Health Research Act alongside Congressman Tom Kane Jr. And this bipartisan bill focuses on funding research to better understand and address mental health challenges with young people, recognizing the growing need for mental health support in educational settings, and this is beyond important to us. Thank you for that. Our mission in North Plainfield School District is dedicated to prioritizing student learning through the academic experience, extracurriculars, and community engagement. We are a diverse student community guided by our core values with a vision to committing high expectations for students to meet grade level standards in a safe and supporting learning environment. So we know how important the work that you are doing and your commitment to creating a more equitable and supportive educational environment for our students in North Plainfield, New Jersey, and across our nation is reflected through all of your initiatives. So again, please join me again in welcoming a warm welcome for Congresswoman Bonnie Watson.
Superintendent. First of all, she's the second woman superintendent that I was with in the last few days. I like that. But I was telling her, I've never really been introduced twice. I got up because I thought it was my turn. I said, thank you for my first introduction. Thank you for my second introduction. Thank you to the Vice Chair of Somerset Commission, Melanie Maroney, for being here, and my longtime friend. We were almost going to be in-laws. The surrogate from Somerset County, Tina Jolly, and her husband, who shows up with her all the time. So I want to tell you that I'm really happy to be here. I am happy to see children here. I am happy to see each and every one of you. And I'm happy to see the diversity of the audience. I was specifically invited here. I was someplace, I think at another town hall, and a woman from North Plainfield said, "Did you ever come to North Plainfield? Could you please come in? We're small, but we're good." And I said to her then, absolutely yes. Because I'm going to tell you, I go everywhere that I am invited. And right now we're invited to a lot of places because there's so much going on and people want to know what's happening, what's coming out of Washington. What are you Democrats doing? What are you Congress people doing? What are you just doing in general? And what should we be looking forward to? So I don't go anywhere alone. I have both DC staff here and New Jersey staff. So that's my Chief of Staff, Alex Warren. That's my Deputy Director of the New Jersey office, Jerk Wazier.
Director of the New Jersey office, Jordan Lewis. My Director of Communications, Mike Shanahan. I've got more staff here than I have. Carla Lopez, who works with us in charge of our constituent services. Holy Mass, the Mass lady back there is Delora, who is our Vice Chair of our communications. Did I introduce the Director of my communications office, Mike Shanahan? Probably someone who kind of grew up closest than anybody here is Brad Gordon, who is my senior advisor. From the very beginning. Last but never least is my scheduler, the person I bug on Sunday evenings at 12 o'clock. What does this mean? What am I doing tomorrow? And also someone who, during my campaign times, goes over and works on my campaign and volunteers on other folks' campaign, Darrell Stroud. I think I've got everyone, and I'm glad that we're all here. I had in my mind kind of what I wanted to talk to you about, and I am going to talk to you about those things. But I have to tell you that in the meantime, over just the last 2 days, I've become even more upset, more concerned, and even more scared. The thought that ICE or any law enforcement can push their way into my home, my sanctuary, because you think that I might be harboring an illegal and eligible deportable individual is un-American. And if you don't like me, and I think that this administration doesn't like me, and I wear that as a badge of honor because I speak out against it, to enter my house under some lack of evidence, but just being evil as you are. And the other thing that just has absolutely galled me is that a judge, that law enforcement went into her room, her place of operation, and detained her because they think that she's done something illegal in protecting an immigrant who they were going to take off without due process. That's dangerous, everybody. And enough is enough. We've had it, right? We've had it. We're not going to just sit back and let our rights be taken away and be silent. It is no longer time to be silent. So I said that I had some talking points, but I almost thought I was going to not get to them because I was so upset. But I'm here to talk to you about things that I know are bothering you. I'm here to listen to you about specific things that I don't know about that are bothering you. And then I'm hopefully going to offer you some information that is helpful to you. And I hope that at the end of our session, we're going to have some hopefulness about our futures, because we are Americans, we're tough. This American experience is important. It's the best form of government, though not perfect, in the entire world. And we will fight to keep it secure. We know that this is a strange administration, that we've never seen evil intentionality so rampant. We know that they have targets, and some of the important targets are the immigrants and their families, and the friends that they have and the people who try to protect them. Students on campuses who are simply speaking out about what they believe in. We have the right to speak out in this country. That is not a violation of any law, and it does not make us deportable. Absolutely. We're still fighting like the Dickens for women's rights and our agency over our own body. We can take care of ourselves, and we very much have to push back on those institutions and those cabinet members and those administration representatives who are trying very hard to take that right away from us. Working people, everyday working families. Well, we're on the chopping block because they're so busy trying to harvest money from very important programs like the protection of Medicaid so that our seniors who need home care or who are in nursing homes have coverage so that they can stay there, so that our children who need health care can have health care, so that our prescriptions that are necessary to keep us living are accessible and affordable. Well, they're targeted as well. And of course, the idea of just separating us, making us distrustful of one another, making us think that if you don't look like us, you don't pray like us, you don't wear clothes like us, that you're not as good as us. So this us versus them mentality has succeeded in making us very uncomfortable with one another at a time when we really, 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 truly must come together. I know that some of us voted for, I didn't, some of us voted for Donald Trump because he promised to lower the cost of living. And he promised to make sure that we had access to good jobs and that the economy was going to be buzzing and that we were just going to be living a good life. But we know we are not having that experience. Things that we like every day, an egg, is more expensive. The clothes we put on our back are more expensive. The everyday things that we don't even think about but grab for are more expensive. And with the tariffs, we're going to experience even more expensive living in this country because they were random and they were revenge oriented and they weren't thought through, and the economists are saying it's stupid, and the unsettlement of it and the fact that this administration, this president in particular, comes out one day with the best idea that we've ever heard in the whole wide world because he's the smartest person in the world, comes out the next day saying we're going to hold up on that because for one reason or another. And that instability is not bringing us the kind of confidence around the world or even domestically in what to expect in terms of our living here. So I've been doing my doggone best, trying to travel my district and the district of the folks from the other party who are representatives of people in New Jersey, to talk about the things that are coming out of Washington and to hear what's on your minds and to take back that information and offer it even to my three friends who represent the Republican agenda in New Jersey, but are caring for people in the state of New Jersey, one of the most diverse states in the nation. So I want to run through a few little items and then we're going to talk specifically about the ones that you're going to talk to me about. I mentioned it quickly, I'm going to mention it again. Immigration is a huge issue for us in this country right now. And it is not a policy, it is punishment. It is the diminution of respect for the dignity of other people. And we ought to be very careful with how we respond to that. Because ladies and gentlemen, I think just about everybody in this room came from, their ancestors came from someplace else to this country. So technically, under the loose definition of who's deportable, we're probably all deportable in this country. My ancestors came here from places I don't even know because the records regarding me are not so easy to find. I'm just scared they're going to try to pick me up one day and put me on a boat at night that's just going to keep rolling around in the ocean because they don't know where the heck to send me. I almost forgot we had children here. But this is political persecution. And what ICE is doing is dangerous and illegal. And we must remember that we are a nation of laws. And when anybody is not following the laws, they deserve to be held accountable. We are now experiencing children being ripped again from their families. On my way here, I read a story about a woman who had a 2-month-old and a 2-year-old who was deported with her 2 children, which were born here in the United States of America. We know what's happened to students on campuses who've spoken out, one position or another with regard to particularly the issues between Gaza and Palestinians. And they've been taken from their homes, from their pregnant wives, and they've been spirited away, and they end up 1,000 miles away from their home, even though there are so many different places closer to their homes that they could have been deported. But that's not enough punishment. So we need to understand that this administration is motivated by punishing. So it intentionally looks for difficult ways to bring their form of justice, I consider injustice, upon those least vulnerable. I know, you got issues with just even transportation. And I know that there are promises of the reduction in support and in finances and funding to the transportation systems that will get you from one town to another, or from the Raritan route to Newark or New York, without having to waste so many hours getting there, giving you more time to be with families. I know that transportation may not be your #1 issue, but it is an issue. I know that we have been told and encouraged to be divisive. I know we have been told and encouraged that DEI simply meant that you hired Black folks into positions for which they're not qualified. That is not true. Not on that level, or on whatever level. What is DEI? The ramps that you see that connect the roadway to the sidewalk is an illustration of what we do for people who have disabilities and immobility. That's part of DEI. DEI is the sort of outgrowth of our recognition that we had systems that were creating, hopefully, unintentional discrimination against people for no valid reason, which were making life harder for no apparent reason. That people who were female in positions where you were underrepresented, were minorities of any type who were underrepresented in places where they were fully available in the workforce. DEI also had to do with accommodations for reasons other than just race and sex and disability. It was a way of looking at the system and making it more safe. But instead, it has caused us to dislike one another, to distrust one another, and it has made us less safe. Let's talk about Doge. That's a heck of a name, Doge. I can think of other things to call it. So we let loose an egomaniac, who I think is more of an egomaniac than the president, which is, I think, a real egomaniac. Malignant narcissist, I think I've heard him called. And we allowed him to get a bunch of kids who were good at IA, IT, and everything else, and to go into our systems and try to dismantle those systems, and allow him and them to make decisions about who should be fired without looking at the implications of firing them, and in many instances having to go back behind these firings and rehire these people because they were protecting our nuclear facilities. They were protecting other life threatening things that if they weren't there, we were in danger. DOGE has not found us efficiencies and effectiveness. DOGE has created greater chaos, and it has treated our federal workers like they're disposable simply because they exist. So you tell me when I'm done, when it's enough, and you don't want to hear anymore. Let me just talk about climate. I don't know about you, but between our having laboratories that can predict climate patterns, that we can determine where we're going to live, where we're going to be safe, what the climate is going to do, what we have to do in order to respect our climate. And then you put on top of that FEMA, which goes in after the devastation in our climate and tries to help out and rebuild the communities that are destroyed. Why are you making those decisions? How are they good for us? Let me just cover two more. You know, I already talked about tariffs. Tariffs are scary for more than one reason. For one thing, negotiation on whether or not you're going to have a tariff is something that is in the hands of the president alone. We know a lot about this president. We know a lot about the way that he illegally ran his personal corporations. He's the only person I know that's ever had a casino go bankrupt. He had all kinds of cases against him for failing to pay contractors. He has talked about deals that he can make with other countries. We haven't seen the benefit of them, but we know the threat of them. So if he has unaccountable ability to ease a tariff or unaccountability to raise even a more punishable tariff, just on his say-so, we're in big trouble. And if he thinks that we can live off of the stuff that we get from China every day, or that comes in from Mexico every day, our fresh fruits, our vegetables, and things of that nature, well, I'm really happy with the Prime Minister of Canada and the President of Mexico telling the President of the United States to go pound sand. So here, let's talk about healthcare. And then I'm going to turn it over to you because I'm going to look and see what we haven't covered. Quickly. Call your senators and tell them, screw the SAVE Act. It's a voter suppression bill, not a voter facilitation bill. And women, we're more vulnerable than men. I want to talk about healthcare, because healthcare is very important to me. Both in terms of having access in communities that rely upon the community healthcare facilities, or the hospitals, or just having insurance so that you can get your physicals and deal with your preventive treatments and therapies and things of that nature. And to have children in situations where they may not have the kind of health care that they need. I have a 2-year-old great nephew whose daddy was a football player, and he's kind of taking after him. He looks like he's 6 years old. So he decided to go down the sliding board yesterday head first. So he ended up in CHOP with a broken wrist. Now, it is good that he was able to go to CHOP, that his parents had the insurance to do so. But not everybody is that fortunate. And healthcare is not a privilege, it's not a fluff. It is something that determines whether or not you live or die, have a long life or short life. My last thing I'm going to talk to you about is education. We are being challenged in education, K through 12, We have a commissioner of, a secretary of education whose life was about wrestling. So she knows how to throw people on a mat, but you daggone sure doesn't know how to get them educated. They're talking about eliminating very important programs that I'm sure even this school district relies upon in terms of resources, so that children have special needs, children that have to have lunches or breakfast, children that represent families that have socioeconomic challenges. Those things are being challenged. You want to go to college? Well, apparently not in this country, without having to lay out a lot of money, be responsible no matter what you're studying, and have to pay whatever student loans you have on the books right now, or face the consequences. Because this administration has turned back all of the Biden administration efforts to make education more affordable, higher education more affordable. I lied. I want to talk about two more things. I want to talk about, I think what I shared with you is that domestically we're unstable, domestically we're scared, we're weakened, and our rights are taken away. Let me talk to us about our standing on the global stage. I've taken a lot of heat, and I don't care about my stand with regard to Israel and Palestinians. So I abhor Hamas. And what they did on October the 7th was the most horrific thing I had seen in my lifetime. My history shows me about slavery and the things that happened, and the Japanese and during World War II. But in my lifetime, and I've been around a long time, I've never seen that kind of cruelty. But that does not excuse what I think is an over response on the part of Netanyahu. And I specifically say Netanyahu, because I don't believe that the people of Israel fully embrace the devastation of Gaza, or the killing of innocent children, or the bombing of hospitals. I'm very fortunate to know Dr. Holloway. You may know him. He is a doctor from New Jersey who goes to Gaza and other war-torn nations and provides health care during the time of turmoil. The hospital that he normally goes to when he goes back to Gaza was bombed recently. They didn't find Hamas there, but they did lose some of his colleagues who were doctors and nurses and first responders. I personally think Netanyahu's taking these actions to keep us distracted and to keep Israel distracted, like I think Donald Trump is trying to distract us from his failures, so that both of them don't go to prison for the things that they've done, which are corrupt. And I think because we're not hearing enough about it, and we're not hearing enough about how the heck do we think we're Putin's friend? How the heck do we think that Putin is our friend? What has he ever demonstrated that says he cares one iota about us? And yet, we're talking about walking away from the peace talks that I don't agree with where they're going with these peace talks, but at least they do exist. And putting not only Ukraine in danger, but our NATO allies in danger. Because we know that this additional narcissist, Putin, is not going to stop in Ukraine if they allow him to overwhelm this country. He's going to go into the Balkan states and he's going to try to rebuild the USSR that we fought so hard and worked so hard to break up because we know that it was dangerous. This administration has decided that Putin is its friend. That's another lie. We must remember that every time this president of the United States opens his mouth and says, "Good day," he's lying. And we must understand also, and I really am done when I say this. This country was founded, this Constitution speaks of the document that is of by and for the people. We the people have more power than the people in power. And we already see that changes are taking place and things are being delayed and protections are being protected because we've been showing up. We've been showing up in protests. We've been showing up in rallies. We've been showing up in town halls, and we've been showing up on the telephone and on the emails and any other means of communication.
And they're not paying us either.
Well, they are paying attention. Let me tell you why they are. They're paying attention because the courts are stopping them, and the courts are affected, also impacted and motivated or discouraged by what we're doing as citizens. That he's had to move back from the tariffs, all of them, not all of them, but some of them. That he's had to rehire people back into important positions because of what the people have stood up and demanded. And so, what I want to say to you is that this government of by and for the people, here is the power right here in the people. When we've had enough, it will be enough. When we peacefully demonstrate, when we reach out to our friends in red states that have voted for the Republican legislators from the federal level on down to the state level, and we help them to understand the implications of the things that have been offered in these EOs, these executive orders and other policies, when they recognize what with devastating Medicaid means to them, when they realize that the cost of living hasn't gone down, when they don't know if their schools are going to be open or closed, when they can't afford housing because we've screwed with Canada so much that we can't get the timber that we need to build the doggone housing, then they are going to be communicating to their legislators that I am your constituent. Do not worry about the money that Elon Musk is going to invest in your campaign. Worry about whether or not I am going to work with other residents to not vote for you. So if you want to be a member of Congress, then find your spine. I think I've talked longer than my staff wanted me to talk. And I could just go on and on and on because I'm an elected official. I've been around a long time. I've never seen anything like this. And I don't want our children to have to grow up with the uncertainty that we have. So let me open it up now for you to tell me what I've missed in my discussion and what you want to hear a little bit more about. And I thank you for having invited me.
Thank you for coming.
We are going to form two lines. We'll let the Congressman have a sip of water, but if you have a question for the Congresswoman, feel free to line up behind the mics. And we can do two lines, so we can alternate, that way you don't have to walk all the way across the auditorium. Feel free to line up, and we'll go mic to mic. All right?
Testing. Yep.
Hello, my name is Anthony Starks.
Is that on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Anthony Starks. I'm a resident here of North Plainfield. I've been here since 1990. Thank you for coming. My question is, as the loyal opposition, what are the specific strategies that you guys are doing to stop the burning down of our democracy?
Thank you for that question. We're operating on more than one level. So we are working with advocates and law groups, and we are part of all the litigation that is stopping some of these EOs from being enforced. We are in the majority not supporting GOP legislation, which we think is helping to dismantle democracy. We are trying to use the tools of Congress in particular, whether it's a discharge petition where you get a majority of your members to sign the discharge petition that you want to vote on a particular bill, but leadership hasn't brought it up because it's problematic to them. We send more letters and threats, and we hold shadow hearings to inform people. We show up here. We show up on every platform that we can, and we participate in the demonstrations that take place. It is hard being in the minority, particularly when the majority is just so overwhelmingly caught up in MAGA, because I know some of those Republicans, that's not who they are, or that's not who they were. And so we try to talk to them as well to help them to find their spine. But I think that those are most of our strategies. Going out and proactively engaging with people in red states as well as blue states, purple states, any state, is something that you see that we're doing, because we're trying to communicate not Republican versus Democrat, but right versus wrong. We need people to understand how things actually affect them.
So, Congresswoman, I don't know if you remember me from Plainfield, at the time I was trying to push the bill for stopping the weapons against children in occupied Palestine. But, I see you're evolving, but I think you should check into 1948, the Nakba. October was kids' play compared to the Nakba. But that's not really what the second question is that upon the death of Sheila Jackson, your colleague, we were left in a quandary about reparations. Can you tell us exactly where reparations is? Because I want to get paid.
It's still alive and well in terms of a legislative initiative. I do believe that
Ayanna Presley.
Ayanna Presley has taken over with the death of Sheila Jackson Lee. If you're familiar with her, she's a fighter. She's very eloquent and very much involved. As members of the Democratic, the Black Caucus, we're all a part of it, and it is part of our wish list. It is something that we weren't able to get through even in Democratic administrations, but it is not something that we're giving up on.
Hello, my name is Daniel Charles. I'm from New York.
I want to hear your outside voice because I know you got one.
Hello, my name is Daniel Charles, and I'm from New York. Sorry. My question to you is, what is the first thing you're going to do about what's happening around Washington?
I'm going to.
Specifically about like the taxes on homes.
Taxes on homes? There is something that's being dangled by the Republicans, hoping that Democrats will vote for some very, very bad bills, for which they would give homeowners a higher deduction that they can claim on their income tax. It's called the SALT tax. And I don't know, right now there's a $10,000 limit on what you can count on. And we know that New Jersey in particular, but you said you're from New York?
Yeah, yes, but now I live in New Jersey.
Oh, okay. New Jersey is one of the most expensive states in terms of taxes because we pay for education through property taxes and things of that nature. So we're working with them to try to increase the deduction for the taxes, the property taxes that New Jerseyans pay, and New Yorkers and Californians. I can't tell you what will happen in this round. I can tell you that it is an issue that has been worked on with regard to the folks on my side of the aisle. Thank you for that question. Very impressed. How old are you? 11.
I'm not 11, but a little older than that. My name is Andrea Faust. I'm from Milltown, New Jersey. I'm a constituent. I'm also a federal employee. I am here for 30 years. I've never in my 30 years felt so demoralized. I'm going to try not to cry because we are losing so many people because of these efforts. I mean, I still have to every week tell Elon what I'm doing, five things I did last week. You know, I'm also the vice president of my union, NTEU, and they are trying to dismantle our union. I mean, we got a slight victory on Friday, thank God, where the injunction that we put in, the judge agreed to. But on Friday, we were basically being told that you're gonna have to vacate your union office, and nobody had any rights. It's scary because this is gonna spill out to the private unions too. This is gonna spill out to everybody. You know, the 3 Republicans that are in New Jersey, I mean, there are constituents in every single area that have government employees, federal employees. I'm with the IRS. Yes, nobody likes us, I get that. But we bring in 94% of all the money for the entire country. You get rid of us, they want to close offices. They're going to close local offices. They have to. They're going to do all that because no one's going to be here to do the work. I mean, do they understand the implications of what's really happening by Social Security, veterans, IRS, everybody? You know, I'm not paid what people think, and I do a lot of work. I can't work at home anymore. I can't work during schedules anymore. They're breadcrumbing. Every week it's a different thing. Now you can't do this. Now you can't do this. Now you can't do it. And it's devastating. So I'm sorry to rant, but it's just really upsetting.
No, ma'am, that's okay. First of all, I'm very happy to meet you, and you've spoken to issues on 2 levels. One is that this is a very anti-union administration, and it's trying to take away all kinds of bargaining rights and legitimacy of the unions, and we can't allow that because they've been the protector of our workers as well as the assurance that we have decent salaries and benefits. And then secondly, so you're speaking to me as one of the possibly affected employees. And I need people to understand that when this administration talks about not destroying the Social Security or not destroying Medicaid or not destroying IRS, but they are destroying our IRS because they only want enough people there, and they don't want people who look at the very complex cases involving very, very wealthy billionaires and corporations. They want to spend their time looking at
Earned income credit, that's what they want to look at.
Yeah. My office loves the IRS because my office is
I've never been to office
getting
before.
thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of dollars.
And they give you 100% voting right on the federal employee. I really do appreciate it. You're amazing. I just want to tell you
Thank you.
that.
Oh, I appreciate that. But I need people to recognize that, so they say they're not going to destroy Social Security, but they're talking about laying off 43 or 50% of the employees that work there and closing offices. So who's going to be answering cases and you know, dealing with claims. And the same thing with education, and the same thing with healthcare, and the same thing, Medicaid. They say they're not gonna mess with Medicaid, but the committee that has authorization of the spending of the money that takes care of Medicaid and children's healthcare, they're telling that committee to find $880 billion worth of cuts, while they're telling Ways and Means to find $4 trillion worth of savings so they can give up big tax breaks. So they're destroying from within. They're making the foundation very, very weak.
Hi, Congresswoman. My name is Jay Vangenker.
Your mic's not working.
Hi, Congresswoman. My name is Jay Vangenker. I drove up here from Mercer County. I'm a former federal employee from the Department of Energy. I worked on climate programs there. I just want to thank you for all the work you've done to protect those programs in Congress. I want to talk about misinformation that we've seen a lot online. We're seeing that it's really starting to target young men, Gen Z, and we're seeing that even as we present the facts to people about the tariffs, their economic impact, we're seeing that people just don't want to believe information that contradicts their worldview. So what can we do in our community? How can we help you combat that misinformation when people have such ingrained deepness in that manosphere?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You can help us by continuing to try to get out the correct information. You can also use us whenever you need us to be able to show the actual dollars and how they impact, because sometimes you don't get it until you actually see the specifics of it. But just that you're willing and that there are people like you in your generation that willing to check the sources and communicate to the people that you have a valid voice for and with. So I ask you to continue to keep using it. That's how you can help me, and that's how you can help our country. Thank you.
Hello, Honorable Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman. Thank you for your years of service. You're someone to always look up to for our younger generation. My name is Golda D. Harris. I am originally from Plainfield, born and raised, the Queen City, but I now reside in North Plainfield since 2021. The gentleman here addressed one of my questions, so I won't go over it again. It's about the reparations. But if you could just do what was the outcome of the commission. There was a commission that Governor Murphy set up, and we never got the final answer on what that was. However, Edna Mahan Correctional Facility for Women, they have transgender men that are legally transgender men, and then they have men that are claiming that and identifying as female, but they are not. They are there to terrorize the women. A lot of women have been beat up. One woman was put in the hospital. Now that Trump is saying he is going to cut funding to the Department of Corrections, including New Jersey and the other ones, what is it that Congress can do to help get rid of the men that are using what has been determined a mental illness for certain people, and I don't believe that it is for everybody. But what is it that Congress can do to protect those women at a correctional facility? Maybe you don't have an answer for it right now, but and then my last statement, I guess it's a statement, is Kilmar Garcia. He had several, through the immigration process, he had several due process hearings, and he stayed in the country 6 years beyond that.
He was not deportable. He was, in fact, there was a hold on him to make sure that he didn't get deported.
No,
so he
agree.
didn't have due process around this issue.
Right, no, that wasn't my question. I understand that. They wanted to have another due process. My question was, he was here for 6 years, and he went through the immigration's due process and was told to leave the country. He stayed additional 6 years.
I'm not sure that's accurate, ma'am. I'm not sure.
If you look online, you'll see it, but I just want to get the question out, and that's why I'm trying to distinguish of him having the due process that the court ordered for him to have, and the immigration process is a different set of circumstances. It is not the court due process, it's immigration's due process. Once he and the millions of other people have gone through that process, I just want an understanding. And they are told to leave. They lose all of their appeals, which is what he did. There are millions of people here. Should all of those people who have been told to leave the country now have another due process through court?
Yes.
Okay.
If they are being targeted for removal, if they are taken from their homes or their schools or their families, and they've not had an opportunity to have due process, absolutely yes.
That's going to be a lot of money for taxpayers to pay for them to have due process.
I am telling you that, first of all, immigrants pay taxes. They work jobs that we don't even want to work. They contribute to our economy, and they have the right to be treated decently. How much? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Hi, Congresswoman. My name is Michael Hoffman. I'm a constituent from your slice of Old Bridge Township, and I'm also a 15-year leukemia survivor. I volunteer as the committee chair of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's New Jersey Advocacy Committee. I look forward to meeting with you and your staff next month during our lobby days. And I know that you spoke about Medicare and Medicaid. I just wanted to mention that around 40 to 50% of all children in the U.S. are covered by Medicaid or the CHIPS Act. And those funds for Medicaid are being threatened.
Yeah.
I also wanted to mention that there are 24 million Americans who have access to affordable health care insurance through enhanced Affordable Care Act premium tax credits, which are due to expire this year, which will leave a number of middle-income families with either no insurance or exorbitantly high rates. I just would ask that you speak to those issues and what you can do and what we can do to avoid those cuts.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations on being a survivor. I was tasked to be on the budget committee this year. And we had to go over the budget that was then passed by, it's called a spending plan, but it's more than that. It's a brand new spending plan. And I offered 3 amendments as it related to, two there and one on the floor, that related to Medicaid, because we do recognize that Medicaid really covers a lot of things, a lot of the healthcare issues. And not only the Medicaid actual issues that give you access to your doctors and your medicines and that nature, but also the kind of research that is being thwarted by this administration. We are fighting, we are pushing back. We did not vote for that spending bill. We will not vote for bills that take away health care either in the delivery of service or in the research. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nancy Pivovar. I live right over the brook in Plainfield, so I'm a constituent. I'm a 38-year veteran of the Postal Service. I retired under the last Trump administration because I envisioned what is happening now was going to happen, because I could tell you stories about what happened in that administration. I have 2 things. I don't mean to criticize the Democrats, but please stop making excuses for the Republicans. Even if they're your friends in Congress, please stop making excuses for them.
Are we doing math?
Sometimes, yeah, before you said, that's not who they are. That is who they are. because they would stand up and fight if they weren't like that.
Yeah,
But my
you know what, I
question-
caught myself on that, and I said, that's, they were who they were not.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
you're right, and I appreciate that.
Okay. Thank
Because
you.
I don't make excuses for them.
All
I
right.
think that there's fine.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. My question is, I understand there is a possible executive order to put the Postal Service under Commerce Department. They've always been independent since 1970, and I'm very concerned with my brother carriers and female carriers and all postal workers, including clerks, and I hope that that doesn't happen. Thank you very much.
I do too, thank you. And those are exactly the kinds of things that become a part of a legal case of litigation that we sign on to. Here.
We're going to take 3 more questions. I'm
Okay.
sorry, and the remainder, we're going to take some questions that we'll take back to the office, okay?
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Joshua Alsari. I'm from North Brunswick Township. I work as the director of the Linden Public Library. And I'm here because I'm very concerned about the IMLS cuts. It looks like he is illegally trying to shutter the agency. My understanding is that an act of Congress would be needed to do that, but he's interpreting an executive order as doing that. Although most libraries in New Jersey, at least public libraries in New Jersey, were mostly paid by property taxes. There are services that we get that are paid through the state library through federal funds, so I'm afraid that that's essentially a service cut for my constituents. So I would like to know what your colleagues are doing. And also, I should say that my library, Linden, even though I live in your district, is in Tom Kane's district. And he hasn't done any town halls, so I haven't had an opportunity to talk to him. Can you tell me if there was any bipartisanship in this issue, because the library's open for everyone.
I don't know that there's any bipartisan support for the libraries. It's not even the libraries now, it's the museums.
Yes.
You know, you name it, you know, it's under attack. That's why it's so important for people to show up, people to call people, and people to make sure that their voices are heard. I assure you that those are the kinds of things that we are fighting back as part of appropriations or part of the budget committee, but we're in a minority. And we need a few Republicans to find their way.
All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Katie Carpenter. A little information about me. I am a 6th grader going to the school of Pingree. And my question is for you, what keeps you motivated to keep fighting for our district?
You. Unequivocally, you, my 11-year-old granddaughter, the people that I run into that don't have any kind of voice, the vulnerable. My responsibility has always been as a public servant to make sure the government worked for everyone. And so I am motivated and blessed to be able to do that on behalf of those folks who are diverse and numerous, who wouldn't have anybody working for them.
Thank you.
I thank you for asking that question.
Hello, my name is Catherine Balch. I'm from Plainfield, and I want to thank you, first of all, for all your hard work in Washington. Thank you so much. I have some questions about education, and specifically funding for education. In Plainfield, in the district, the public school district, I've been advocating for 5 years for improvements in the school system. The district and the board have responded positively to these efforts. We managed to develop, and the superintendent managed to implement a strategic plan, 5-year strategic plan. He's been following it very closely. He's managed to make huge improvements in teacher salary. He negotiated one of the top teacher salary contracts in Union County. Our retention rate now for teachers is 97%. Our chief of instruction has managed to purchase and train teachers to use a variety of programs for students at all levels, AP programs, CTE programs. There have been other major improvements in the district. The superintendent rolled out a proposed budget, what do you call it, preliminary budget a few weeks ago. Got the nod, but then the board went back to their constituents, they say, and got a different kind of response because it requires an increase in property taxes. The average Plainfield homeowner would have to pay about $75 more in school taxes per month. And that was, and on Tuesday night, that 0% increase in taxes is going to be probably approved. My question to you is, what does someone like me do in this kind of situation? The residents, the business people, the parents, and teachers and administrators all helped develop the strategic plan, all asked the superintendent to do certain things, which he has now done. There's verifiable evidence that these efforts are proving helpful in helping students learn. But it's a political year. The mayor, it's the mayoral election in a few weeks. And I think that the candidates, both candidates for running for mayor, have said that they don't want any increases in taxes. Where's this money going to come from? Especially, if I may just point out that Washington is making a huge effort to make us accept a voucher program, which almost every single red state in the nation has approved, every single state legislature. And what the voucher program does is give parents money to send their children to any school they want, but the effect is that Catholics go to Catholic schools, blacks go to black schools, whites go to white schools. It creates more segregation than anything that I can think of except for Jim Crow.
So the majority of the resolution comes from the state level. But I understand what you are experiencing. This is an election year. And people are unsettled about what their cost of living is going to be and whether or not they can even accommodate $75 a month that we might not think is a whole lot and is a good investment in our children, but they're looking at their home budgets. So a lot of this has to do with the state of New Jersey and whether or not the state of New Jersey finds additional money. But the state of New Jersey depends upon the federal government. And the federal government is, New Jersey had $460 million in the federal government last year just for Title I programs and as well as other things. So it is a fight that we have to have in DC to ensure that education is supported. And then it is a discussion that you need to have with your state legislators about, can you eke out a little bit more out of the budget, which I think is a very tough time even for you to do that. Because I think that the governor is even proposing to use some of the reserve that they have to make the budget balance. We don't have to balance the budget, obviously, but the state of New Jersey does. So it's a tough time, and I don't have an easy answer for you.
So my next step would be to lobby my state legislature?
And you can also lobby us. So I hope that I got a chance to hear from the majority of you all that wanted to ask a question. I know that there were a few that didn't. I appreciate this opportunity to be here. I appreciate the young people being here very much, so thank you to the parents for bringing them.
Make sure you come back.
I will come back. I will. Thank you. God bless you. And let me tell you, we the people have more power than the people in power. Let us not forget, this is not going to last always. Thank you.